But today, both the readings I chose were from the Old Testament. Why would I do that? Well, the first reading from Jeremiah talks about a potter who wrecked his pot on the wheel. People here have anybody done pottery on a potter's wheel? A few people? If you've done it, and I have, you have this glue in your hands and it's spinning, and you can form it and shape it and make it do stuff. But any slight mistake, if you sneeze, if you burp, if you flick a finger, if you have a little spasm, anything that you do will take that spinning form and just turn it into a mess, just in a heartbeat. And there's nothing you can do to get it back. You have to just take it and mush it up and center it on the wheel and start over again. So Jeremiah talks about the potter who wrecks what he's working on, and then he moves on. But he doesn't go back to doing what he was doing. He decides to throw something as seemed good to him. Whatever he had been making, he stopped and switching to something else that he wanted to make that seemed good to him. Now, potters have been around forever. That's one of the oldest occupations there is. And most of them are artists. I think all potters are probably qualified as artists. But they also have to make a living. And so pottery shops typically, they have a line of product that they make, cups and plates and bowls that are for sale in the gift shop or somewhere. That's how they make their living. And then they also get the opportunity sometimes to make creative things, unique things. And my experience with potters centers around my seminary experience at the St. John's Seminary up in Collegeville, which is the home to Richard Bresnahan's pottery works. And if you know anything about pottery, everybody knows Richard Bresnahan. He's world famous. And he has a lot of students that work with him, and he teaches pottery, and he went to Japan for 10 years to study how they do it over there and learn how they make their glazes and stuff. And every year he has a huge kiln that he built that's wood-fired that adds its own makes the pots that come from that wood-fired kiln unique in their own special way. And he's a great artist. And if you go to the bookstore, the campus store up at St. John's, they have some of his pottery for sale. There's certain cups and bowls and plates and such that they make in mass quantities. So most potters, even though they are artists, probably spend, I'm just going to guess, maybe 80% of their time on the wheel making things for sale, making that same cup, making that same bowl for sale. And my guess is that this potter that Jeremiah was talking was probably doing just that. He was making one of his pieces that he sells in his gift shop. And then when it got smushed, he threw it back on, but he decided to make something good, something from himself. We're about to celebrate Holy Communion today, and I was gifted on my graduation with my Master of Divinity from St. John's Seminary with a set of communion ware that was made by Richard Bresnahan's shop. And I brought it in today in case anybody wants to look at it. We'll use it in our communion celebration today. And it's been a blessing to me. And my guess is that those are not items that are mass produced. They make lots of cups, they make lots of bowls. But the communion ware is probably made in small quantities, and I feel really grateful to have one at my disposal. So our second reading today from Deuteronomy says, basically, follow the way of the Lord and be blessed. Follow any other god and perish. Not that we don't all perish eventually. The only question is whether or not we are blessed in our lives before we perish from this earth. So what we're talking about in this pottery story is switching our motivation, doing the same thing, being the same people, having the same lives, having the same job, the same family, doing all the things that we need to do as part of our lives. But once in a while, giving ourselves permission to change our motivation. I have to get up, I have to work 9 to 5, I have to pick up the kids, I have to go to the school board meeting, I have to do a lot of things in my life. But once in a while, it's good for us to change our motivation and say, I have all these things that I have to do. But now I'm going to do something that I just want to do. Something that comes from me. Something that comes from my heart and my mind. And is art, which I think, things that we do, we go to work and we do all the stuff that we do, right? We march. Somewhere there's a drummer, and we all march to that beat, because we have to survive and feed our families and to be constructive members of the community. But what Jeremiah is telling us, once in a while, it's okay to just, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just feeling, And I've talked about dance before here in service, and about the fact that I dance every day in my shop. If you come in my shop, at some point, you will see me doing whatever I feel like doing in that moment to go over and get to that workbench and pick up that tool that I need. And it does my heart good because it allows a moment for my spirit to be in charge. Mostly we're doing our physical thing that we have to do to survive, and that's good. Survival is good. But once in a while, we need to just open up and let the Spirit have its way in our lives. Karl Hammerschlag was a family physician who worked in a hospital on a Native American reservation in the Southwest. And while he was serving as a physician there, he had a patient who was named Santiago. And it turns that Santiago was a Pueblo priest and a clan chief of that Pueblo community there. And while he was talking with his patient Santiago, Santiago looked at the doctor and said, "How did you learn to heal?" And of course, the good doctor, being a good doctor, said, "Well, I went to Harvard Medical School, and I interned at Yale, and I worked at Johns Hopkins University. I did my internship, and I have been certified by the American Board of Pediatrics and Family, and I've been certified by," and listed off all of his credentials. And sort of unimpressed, Santiago looked at the doctor and said, "Do you know how to dance?" And so to humor the patient, Santiago did a little, shuffled his feet around a little bit just to be cute. And Santiago was not impressed. In fact, he forced himself out of bed. As sick as he was, he got out of bed and he got on the floor and danced. And he said, if you want to heal, you must learn to dance. I can teach you my steps, but you will have to hear your own music. You'll have to look inside and listen to the muse within in order to hear what you need to know to be a healer. Dance as a source of healing. It works for me. I think that anytime you're creating art, music, it's cathartic and it's reinvigorating for your spirit, which of course ultimately determines your physical and your intellectual well-being. Dancing empowers the spirit for healing. And you may not believe this, but I didn't actually learn that in seminary. They didn't teach that in seminary. So what does it look like? What does it mean to live a physical, intellectual life that is attentive to and directed by the Spirit, by God? The potter did his job. He showed up and did his job every day, right up until it didn't work. And then he stopped. And he stepped back. What could I do different? And he put the clay back on the wheel, and he danced on that clay. Most of us know about Joseph Campbell. He's a contemporary theologian that writes a lot of books and speaks a lot, and almost everybody has come across him somewhere in their life if they're paying attention. He was in a conference on religion in Japan, and he was there with a group of other American theologians. And one of the other delegates, who was a social philosopher from New York, said to a Shinto priest there, he said, you know, we've been to a great many ceremonies, and we've seen quite a few of your shrines, but I still don't get your theology. I still don't understand your ideology. And the priest looked back and thought, and finally he responded back to Joseph Campbell and he said, I think we don't have theology. I think we don't have ideology. We dance. And that was enough. The Anchorage Daily News in Alaska did an interview with a woman named Marge Gull, who was 95 years old and living in a assisted home. And she was famous for being really spirited and energetic for 95. And the article said that the way Marge Gull feels about it, anybody who thinks 95 is too old to dance can take a flying leap over a defibrillator cart. I dance up a storm, she said. So, at the end of the day, show up. Do your job. Be responsible. But be open. Keep your heart and your mind open to the place that God might be calling you in this moment that might be more important than your job or what you're doing right now. There's a chance God is calling you some small, still voice. And if you hear that small, still voice calling you to something of action, of passion, of compassion, then your heart is drawing you towards, then let go of whatever it is you're doing and walk. Move your feet towards that which is calling you. To the sound of your own music, which we all have. So kids, today's theological inquisition revolves around the ideological implications of and the spiritual manifestations of the question, shall we dance? I danced in the morning when the world was young. I danced in the moon and the stars and the sun. I came down from heaven and I danced on earth. In Bethlehem, I had my birth. Dance! Dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. And I lead you all wherever you may be. I lead you all in the dance, says he. I dance for the scribes and the Pharisees. They wouldn't dance. They wouldn't follow me. I danced for the fishermen, James and John. They came with me. And so the dance went on. I danced on the Sabbath, and I cured the lame. The holy people said it was a shame. They ripped, they stripped, they hung me high, left me there on the cross to die. I danced on a Friday when the world turned black. It's hard to dance with the devil on your back. They buried my body. They thought I was gone. But I am the dance. And the dance goes on. They cut me down, and I left them high. I am the life that will never die. I'll live in you, and you will live in me. I am the Lord